She's a lawyer, an advocate, and leader in the community. She's Blegay, and she wants to keep you in the know because times are tough and you need answers.
Welcome to In the Know with Blegay, where we will explore issues that impact our community. And today we are going to talk about an important issue, immigration. Immigration has become very important because it's one of the forefront issues as we're looking at this president and his anti-immigrant rhetoric. This has drawn an entire movement of anti-immigrant voices that are stating, leave our country. This is a country of immigrants, and this is nothing new, because a century before we dealt with the same issue. The anti-immigrant movement was very active, and this was when Italians and Irish and many other European groups were coming in. But today is different. Today the focus is on immigrants of color, black and brown. We're talking about the Latinos, we're talking about Africans, we're talking about Asians, we're talking about many groups that have color that are coming in, and in large numbers. And they have felt threatened because of a lot of the antics of the groups today. And we're going to talk to Mr. Gustavo Torres from CASA. CASA has been an immigrant advocacy organization that has been doing the work, as he stated, for 33 years. And they have grown from a small organization working in Maryland to now working throughout Maryland, Virginia, even Pennsylvania and DC. And what he's talked about is that they are responding, they're organizing to respond to many of the anti-immigrant movement. We're looking at legislation to protect immigrants, such as the Trust Act, looking at ways to respond to many of Trump's executive orders impacting the immigrant community. So as we looking at this, think for yourself. Are you an immigrant? Are you a daughter, granddaughter, great-granddaughter of an immigrant? And if so, what are you doing to actually continue the advocacy for immigrants? And Gustavo's going to talk about how they have grown over time, but how we as a group can join in advocating to protect immigrants in a country that was created by immigrants. So let us listen in and learn more about what CASA is doing and organizations like it to protect the immigrant community. Listen in. Welcome to In the Know with Blegay, and today we have Mr. Gustavo Torres with CASA. And welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for inviting me to the program.
Thank you. So can you give us information? Many people know about CASA and your advocacy. Now tell us a little more give us the history of CASA and where it's come from and what the future holds.
Absolutely. It was back to actually 33 years ago. We born in a church called the Tacoma Park Presbyterian Church, actually 10 minutes away from here. A group of US citizens and refugees and immigrants came together to welcome the new arrivals. Very similar to what happened with the caravan, and many families, refugees, people come, so many thousands of them arrived to the Washington DC area. And it was not any organization that welcomed them. So that is the reason why we started initially to provide clothing, food, English classes to our community. That is the way how our organization started, and it started to, every single day to change, because our community changed tremendously. So that is the way how our organization is changing. Now we have a family of organization providing services, advocating for our community, encourage people to register to vote and to make sure that they vote. So that is kind of the way how our organization grows. Now we become a membership organization. We have almost 100,000 members, many of them Latinos, but we have thousands of Africans. That is the new community that are coming to our organization. Many Africans are arriving, and we are very pleased with this extraordinary diversity that we have.
Okay, so what type of services do you provide, or what type of advocacy services have you provided in the past?
So it's a couple different things that we do. We provide English classes, citizenship classes. We help people to find jobs, vocational training, immigration assistance. So many of these very critical services that is to make sure that our community is integrated in the society. So that is one component. And the another component that we have is community organizing and advocacy. So we advocate at the national level as well as the local level on immigration reform, the Trust Act, the DREAM Act, driver license, minimum wage, all of these very, very important issues that is not necessarily issues that are affecting only Latinos and immigrants, but you know, everybody. So that is what we're doing, and we have a strong component of community organizing. And what we're doing is that we create different committees all around the Mid-Atlantic, in Pennsylvania, in Virginia, in Maryland, to make sure that our community are very, very engaged and make decisions.
Interesting. So can you tell us, there has been an attack on the immigrant community. We've all seen it from Trump, and now many Trump's rhetoric has arisen a group that has been pushing against immigrants. So how has that changed your advocacy for the immigrant community? You
know, knowing the history is very important. It's very similar the way how the African American have been attacked for centuries. And the way how the African American response has been to the civil rights, civil disobedience, rally, fighting, register to vote. That is the kind of experience that we have been learning from the African American community. That is exactly what we're doing right now. We are under attack, and we are not the only group. The Muslim community, women are under attack, the African American community is under attack. We feel that we are under attack, but we are not the only ones. And we believe that the only way how we are going to change this is when we work together. When we work together with all of these organizations and communities who are under attack under this administration. So that is the reason why we mobilize, we organize, we have civil disobedience, we have rallies, we register to vote, and we are going to vote. So that is kind of our strategy of resistance. We believe that we need to resist, but at the same time we truly believe that we are going to win. Because the history is in our side, because our community is organizing itself and is mobilizing, and we are working with many other organizations.
Now let me ask you, what can be done to change the laws to help immigrants, to protect immigrant communities? Have you looked at any laws that could change things?
Absolutely. Locally, we can do a lot, and the federal level, of course. At the local level, a very important legislation is the Trust Act. Is to make sure that the police do not collaborate with immigration to deport our families. And we are speaking about refugees and immigrants. We are not speaking about criminals. It is very, very important. So that is something that we have been doing and fighting in Annapolis, in Richmond, also in Pennsylvania, in all places, to make sure that we pass that local legislation. At the federal level, the most important legislation is comprehensive immigration reform. We passed the legislation actually back to 10 years ago in the Senate, but the House, as you know, is a problem. Now it's going to be the other way around. Looks like that we are going to win the House, and probably the Senate is going to be the problem. So that is kind of the way how I believe, but it's two pieces of legislations that are so essential in addition to the comprehensive immigration reform. One is for the Dreamers, called DACA, that President Obama liberated 1.8 million of our youth, and now this administration removed that. So we need to make sure that we pass the DREAM Act. That is number one. And number two is something called the TPS. It's temporarily protected status. I'm speaking about around 1 million immigrants, mostly from Africa and Central America, who have been here for the last 25 years. They have a temporarily status. This administration removed that. So it's kind of crazy. I mean,
they did that to the Liberians.
With the Liberians, that is the example, right? So what is happening is that this administration is attacking, quote unquote, illegal aliens. That is the way how they use, and they are illegal, removing the legal status to these communities. Anyway, so we believe that these two particular legislations at the federal level is so very critical to make sure that we are going to provide opportunities to these families.
Right. Well, recently Trump has announced that he will be considering removing the citizenship of naturalized citizens, which some have argued is actually against the Constitution. How are you guys responding to that?
First of all, remember, this president became president in 2016 when he started to attack us. He called us that we are rapists, that we are criminals, that we are not loving this country. Again, it's very similar to how the African American community have been attacked for centuries.
Right.
So now we are receiving these kind of attacks. That is the way how he started in 2016. Now that we are in elections, he is using the same rhetoric, the same attacks to our community. But I want to tell you, we are not going to stop there. We are going to sue back immediately. We already have a bunch of attorneys who are going to sue this administration because it's illegal what he is doing.
Right.
He knows that he cannot do that, but he is going to do it anyway because that is the way how he hates our communities. That is the way how he hates us. We are going to keep mobilizing our community. We believe that in 2018 we are going to win, and in 2020 we are going to win as well, because our community already woke up and said this is totally unacceptable. We are not going to tolerate these kind of attacks against our families and our communities.
Do you believe that rhetoric has brought new advocates into your group?
It's both, actually, a lot. We receive actually thousands of people who want to make a contribution to our organization, but also we receive a lot of people who send hate messages all the time. People who are attacking us all the time, people who say that we cannot be in this country, that we don't belong to this country, and we are very concerned. Remember what happened with the massacre in Pittsburgh, with the Jewish community. Remember, they killed these persons not only because they were Jews, but because they support the immigrants and refugees. He was very clear. I am killing you because you are Jewish and because you support the immigrant and refugee community. He's horrendous. That rhetoric is very, very dangerous. We call this administration to stop these attacks to our communities because it's creating a very difficult situation for our families and our communities.
Right. Well, let's just say, how can this organization change the way Americans see immigrants? There seems to be, as you stated before, discussions that immigrants are rapists, or they're taking advantage of benefits. A lot of these things are really false. So how you guys work? How does CASA work on trying to?
So CASA is member of the national network. So for instance, next month in December, we are going to have a national conference of around 1,500 people who are coming all around the country to analyze, to evaluate, to strategize, to see how we change that concept. Because what is happening is that, and we know in this country what we have is we have like 1/3 of our country who hate us, who are attacking us. You know that, right? There are another 1/3 of the country who love us. And we have the 40% of the people who are like moving this side to this side, right? So our responsibility is how we can educate this 40% of the population about the contribution that we do as Latinos and immigrants, how we really love this country, what kind of contribution we make. That for us is very important. So CASA is playing a major national role to make sure that we change this conversation about immigration.
Well, thank you for your advocacy and service to the community. And you all heard it. It's time that we get together and work to make a difference and make sure that immigrants know that they are accepted in this country, because this country is a country of immigrants. Thank you for your advocacy in the community, and keep on.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you.